What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a brand new thing that we're doing here on our YouTube channel. It's our first ever collaboration with a up-and-coming YouTuber specific to the accounting industry. We're going to learn all about her and her amazing story. But what we're really going to be talking about today with her is how you can escape the Big Four and start your accounting firm. So Gabrielle, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And as a heads up to everyone, there's another video on Gabrielle's channel that is an interview with me. So please, by all means, make sure that you go check out what she has. She's got awesome content. Like, subscribe to her videos. You will be in for an absolute treat. So Gabrielle, just to kick things off, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you really got started in the accounting profession. I think that gives everyone a good understanding of just who you really are.
Thanks, Taylor, for that introduction. So just to give you guys a little bit, tell you guys a little bit about myself. I am a tax manager at one of the Big Four accounting firms. I've been working at a Big Four for over 7 years, which kind of dates me a little bit. I started in 2014, and from university, I knew I wanted to go into accounting. I went into business school and went through recruit. And at the age of 22, I started as a first-year associate at a Big Four and got designated, got my CPA, and took all the advantages with working at a Big Four, such as going on a work secondment. So I had the opportunity to work in Korea for a bit, for 2.5 years. And then I came back at the start of the pandemic to focus on my career here in Vancouver. And then I kind of went through some changes in terms of what I wanted to specialize in. So I started off with Canadian tax. And then when I was in Korea, I did some international tax. And then while I was working abroad, I realized how big the US market was and its impact on the world. So now I'm doing US tax. So you would say I'm kind of covered all the grounds when it comes to tax. And that's like my specialty. And so, yeah, so I guess for me, I'm at a stage in my career where I'm seeing, what are potential paths for me in the future and what I could do with the experience that I have so far, which is 7+ years in tax. So that's just a little bit about myself.
Well, look, it sounds like we've run the gamut literally around the world. We've done all sorts of things related to tax. And I know that a lot of people who've transitioned out of what we'll just refer to as industry, whether it's Big Four, maybe a corporate controller, CFO position, maybe we get bit by that entrepreneurial bug a little bit. Maybe we start to kind of say, hey, I want to have maybe a higher degree of impact. Now, Gabrielle, you're considering that path, right? You might be thinking about exiting in the not so distant future, but right now you're doing something that's really cool and really unique. And not a lot of people out there, very few people, to be totally honest, are doing what you're doing, which is you're producing content. And I think that that's something we really need to shine a light on and start to better understand. Why did you even start doing it in the first place? I mean, I find it hard to even get entrepreneurs who would tremendously benefit from producing content to start doing it. And you've got this huge work burden, this international lifestyle, and you're out there being a YouTuber. So give us a little bit of an insight into how that got started, why you thought it was a priority, and you've developed some great traction as well. And maybe just share a little secret of what's making that work.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tyler. It's growing. I still have a small, audience, but it is growing quickly. That now that I'm posting more consistently and all that. But just to go back and tell you how I started. I started during the pandemic because as most people could relate, we've started working from home a lot. We have a little bit more time on our hands. And for me, I've always been a big fan of YouTube. I love watching YouTube, starting from over 10 years ago. And it's something that I've always wanted to do in the back of my mind, but never really got around to starting and committing to it. And I think the pandemic was sort of like a good excuse in a way for me to, really give it a shot. And one of the starting points for me was what can I contribute? What kind of content can I create that would be value to people watching. And when I first started, I didn't have any resources in terms of like becoming a tax accountant. Like, what is the difference between tax accountants and auditors? Because when people go through Recruit, like that's sort of one of the first things that you need to decide in terms of like career path. Because, you know, you might think accountants are all the same, but they're actually very different. The type of work you do is very different. And so I wanted to kind of give them my experience and my advice in terms of that career path. Also, I realized that when you search up career and tax videos on YouTube, there is hardly any videos out there. There's nobody who is talking about career and tax. I know a couple. I know Jen. I've actually connected with her yesterday. She does career and tax and career related videos. So there's really not many of us out there. And so that's where I decided to start in terms of creating content. And you know, YouTube is not easy, and it's not something that people should take lightly, because when I first started, I just thought like, oh, like I'll just, you know, film, you know, edit some videos, post it up there. It is not like that. It is a full-time job. There's so much work that involves into it, such as like the actual script itself, the filming, the lighting, the audio, making sure everything's on point, the editing, the thumbnails, it's a lot of work, and I didn't really know that what I got myself into. But what really motivated me to keep going was the value that I was providing to the people watching, and the comments that I've been getting, whether they are comments on my videos or people who reach out to me personally through my website, my blog. I also have a blog to complement my YouTube channel. So I have people kind of contact me in different avenues, and those comments really helped me to stay motivated and continue posting these videos, because I actually knew that they were providing value to those people who are watching. So that's how I've started, and those are sort of my motivating points. And I knew that in this day and age, your online presence and your personal brand is huge. And so, you know, you need to start somewhere. You can't just, you know, appear out of nowhere one day and expect people to know you. It's a trust that you need to build with your audience, and you need to do that by posting consistently, interacting with your audience. And with that, people see like your genuine side, and you will have people who would want to follow you and, you know, trust what you have to say. So.
Wow, what an answer. There's so much to unpack from that I want to make sure that we just don't like gloss over. The first of which is we have a rich understanding that there was an opportunity from the pandemic where you had maybe a little bit more time than previously you did, and you were able to achieve more consistency. And you also had a good reflection of, wait a minute, when I was trying to do this, there was a problem, right? Like anytime there's a great opportunity, it starts with identifying a problem, which was I didn't know what the opportunities were from different career paths and different perspectives. If I was searching for something like this, is there a chance that someone else would benefit from the experience and the things that I've learned? And if I was just willing to share that, right? Mm-hmm. Another thing, which is consistency. You were able to start to get traction. It's not as simple as I just made a Facebook page, the world will knock down my door and start giving me money. It's like, no, we have to provide value. We have to have the givers get mentality, which is I'm going to give, I'm going to be out here. I'm going to have basically a second job. And again, we all know Big Four, it's not like you got an abundance of hours that you're just like hanging out. It's like, I'm going to be a YouTuber with an extra 70 hours a week. It's like, that's not how it works. And then there's also the intensity of the actual process to being successful. And what I believe is the most difficult platform to get traction on, which is YouTube, because to your point, I mean, there's tags, there's the thumbnails, there's the scripting, there's understanding your messaging, there's being able to respond to comments. I mean, there's a huge list of it. And Gabrielle, you mentioned comments. And what I'd like to do for everyone that's hanging out with us is, you know, here at Dream Firms, we give away more for free than when others in this space want to overcharge you for outdated information. So here's the deal. That process is extremely difficult to try and figure out on your own. All I need you to do is ask one question in the comment section below, any question that you have. And as long as you ask a question, I will give you the first part of our 3-part series on creating killer content, which essentially is planning. That's what you're going to get. Then we have production and we have syndication. Trust me when I say you're going to want this A to Z, everything you need to know to be able to mirror what Gabrielle, excuse me, and I are doing, but for your audience and for your business. So if you want that, again, just give us a comment and you will get something. Givers get. So that's fantastic, Gabrielle. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to take the conversation just one step further here, because I think when people read this title and they say escape the big four, but you're still in the big four, but what's potentially the strategy should you choose to pursue an entrepreneurial endeavor? How do you feel that this would be of a benefit to you when you're getting ready to say, well, wait a minute, now I'm actually maybe willing to take on new clients? How do you feel that this will help you to be able to do that more successfully?
So just to clarify, this in terms of my YouTube or just my experience working on a Big Four?
Well, let's do both, because I think both are great points of conversation. Is you've got tremendous work experience, but now you also have this great social media presence and understanding of how it works. So let's go from the Big Four perspective first, and then we'll talk about YouTube.
Okay. So I am still working on a Big Four right now. And I guess, and I have a video up in terms of like exit opportunities and what are good times to leave. So there's like senior associates, managers, and et cetera. And I guess I'm at that stage as a tax manager where I'm kind of, I think everyone kind of goes through this, but you're kind of contemplating, oh, like, do I see myself staying at a Big Four, or are there other options out there? And right now, there is a crazy explosion in terms of job offers and job opportunities out there. And so I think that's another sort of path in terms of like, oh, should I go into industry? So there are a lot of options, which is great because it means that, you will always have opportunities as a tax accountant or accountant in general. And as someone who worked at a Big Four, I think I can say that we work with some really like top big clients. And so a lot of my experience comes from working with really professional people and with really big files. And so you gain a lot of technical expertise and also the mentorship that you receive working with top people in your field, such as, senior managers, directors, partners. They also provide a lot of value to your learning. And with Big Four, there is sort of like a teaching culture, a coaching culture where they help you understand in terms of not just like, business development, but technical, and they're pretty approachable. So in terms of working on a Big Four, you kind of get that mentorship, also how Big Four operates. Like they've had, like years to perfect what they're doing in terms of like how to efficiently provide deliverables to clients, how to interact with clients, how to bring in clients. So they have all these systems in place. They have a ton of training. So you get really valuable experience working at a Big Four firm. So with that, basically after working at a Big Four, you kind of walk away with so much experience and skills with you that's not going to go anywhere, and that's going to be valuable in terms of what your next step will be, whether that's starting your own firm, going into industry, or even going into a smaller practice for more work-life balance. So it's a really good starting point. It might be a little bit difficult at the beginning, like Tyler mentioned, the work-life balance might not be there, and also you're like studying to be a CPA and all that. So but it's a little bit of a sacrifice that you need to make in order to gain the experience that you need to be valuable in the future. So that's how I will take away from my Big Four experience. In terms of YouTube, I mean, YouTube is in itself endless opportunities. Like there's so many directions you could go with YouTube. You could further work on what you're good at. Like in terms of me, my tax expertise is something that I want to kind of build on and kind of help those who are wanting to pursue a career in tax. But then other than that, there are many ways that you could pursue in terms of your YouTube career. So one way that I'm doing it is kind of building off of my tax experience. And since that's something that I could talk about, because that's what I've been involved with, and that's how I'm providing value, and I'm seeing where that could go. And so I've had people who've reached out for career advice, and that could be a potential in terms of career coaching. And with people knowing on YouTube that I'm a tax expert, people have also reached out in terms of like tax advice and whether I could provide services for them, which I can't because I'm working for a Big Four and I'm not allowed to do that yet. But I give them the resources in terms of like the the CRA website, the IRS website, in terms of like resources that they could look up and that they could kind of direct their tax advisors to. And another opportunity is because you have such a big audience, you know, if you happen to start your own firm later down the line, I mean, that's a potential, you know, audience for clients, and you've already established that trust with them, that they're a little bit more willing to approach you and trust you for that instead of simply searching up for a tax accountant online. So many different opportunities with YouTube.
It's a fantastic response again, and I will do my best to just synthesize that. The first thing is, if you're in that Big Four environment, try to do your best to keep your eyes and ears open to things beyond what your immediate task is, the way it's being delegated, the way it's being communicated, how compensation may be occurring. Like, it's important for us to be able to see beyond the workload that's in front of you, because all of the things that are supporting your ability to stay focused on that return, or to stay focused on closing out that client's records, or whatever the case may be, is like, there's a lot that's going on in the background. And I think if you have that presence of mind, as Gabrielle clearly does, to just say, well, what's causing all of this? Like, what's making this run as efficiently? They've had years and years and years and years to be able to fine hone and improve their processes and efficiencies. And how can I maybe start to study those and understand how they work, so that should the need ever arise, I'm starting from a higher point, and I didn't neglect what was available to me in the form of what I'll just call like secondary hand education, right? It's not directly like, here's the processes, but it's like, well, how does that work? And even leaning into your colleagues and the people that are above you, you said, hey, a lot of these people are pretty open and pretty accessible. Be curious, right? Be hungry for that information that could benefit you tremendously down the line, that may not be accessible to you again. And again, being in that moment and maximizing what's available to you, that's the spirit of the entrepreneur, right? It's like, we've got to be able to make the most out of what we're currently doing right now. And then you transition beautifully to the YouTube side, which is, there are a lot of different ways to talk about different topics, whether it's your expertise, whether it's blending it with a little bit of lifestyle, whether it's approaching it maybe from a how-to perspective, whether it's approaching it from all sorts of different ways. And the best way that I can impart this on anyone that's looking at this is, pay attention to the content that you're consuming and absorbing. This is a good example. Maybe it's interview style format for you, where you're going out and you're finding other thought leaders and you're saying, let me take a little bit of time and share your message with my audience. And again, just a reminder, please go check out Gabrielle, what she's got. She's got tremendous information out there. I really want everyone that's watching this to please go and subscribe to her channel. You don't want to miss out on what she's got, even again, from that perspective of how's she doing it? What's the message behind the message? Like, what's the value of being able to build up an audience of, I believe it's 3,000 subscribers.
Getting there.
Getting there.
2.7K. Yeah.
All right. We're on our march to 1,000. So she's further ahead of us. And again, that's another point to bring out of this, is like, there's a huge community of people that are right within our wheelhouse, right? You know, we're not 100,000 million plus subscribers. People aren't going to necessarily give us the time of day, no offense. But when you have this smaller community, you can build relationships, you can send cross traffic, and all of a sudden both of your audiences grow. And by extension, if you do decide to make a new offer, you do decide to announce like, hey, you know, I can finally start accepting clients, you've got something you can leverage to make that process easier, to replace what could be a really large salary. Like, I don't want Gabrielle to lose quality of life when she becomes an entrepreneur. I'd be a terrible coach if I said, hey, Gabrielle, you know, just forego that 100,000. No, it's like, no, she's going about it in a really smart way if she ever decides to make that choice. So Gabrielle, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I think that this has been super informative for really anybody that's even in their entrepreneurial journey, and the importance of content. Again, comment down below if you want part 1 of part 3. Again, just any question you have for me or Gabrielle, and we'll make sure that I give you, again, 100% for free, the first part of that 3-part series to help you really just crush creating content. But Gabrielle, is there anything else that you just like to share with our audience before we close things out here?
I guess for me, in this day and age, I think what's really important is your personal brand. And I think it's really important to, put yourself out there and see what sort of opportunities are created from that. And for me, I'm not a natural when it comes to talking, online or through video, like Tyler, you could attest to this. I still have a long ways to go in terms of building my brand and content creation and how I come across. But I think you need to start somewhere. And I've taken that leap of faith in terms of starting somewhere. And I encourage, for those who are aspiring to start your own practice or who have other plans in terms of career in accounting to think about what your personal brand is and work on that, whether that's through YouTube or through other social media platforms. And the world is evolving very fast. So it's important that we keep on top of that. And yeah, thanks for having me so much, Tyler. Really, enjoyed this whole experience with you. And I've learned so much talking to you. And I'm glad that I was, able to provide some value as well. And yeah, maybe check out my video on my channel and give Tyler's videos a thumbs up and comment and subscribe.
Well, listen, I think that perfectly is well said, Gabrielle, which is it's never too late for you to be building your personal brand. And one of the things that we emphasize time and time again with our clients is don't try and be shadow corp, right? Don't try and hide behind stock photos. Like, you need to have a personal brand, because while we might be in the B2B or the B2C space, at the end of the day, it's person to person. You're the one that's going to make that connection. You're the one that's going to make sure that that connection is incredibly valuable, because it's the way that you are going to take all the changes to the tax laws and be able to apply it to someone's situation. And that is going to come down to you. And the better you can personally brand yourself by participating in content, the more proactive you are, like Gabrielle is, the more likely you are to have your dream firm. So I want to say a huge thank you to Gabrielle. This has been a ton of fun. First ever collab in the books. Again, please check out Gabrielle's channel. Comment down below if you want to check out the first part of that 3-part guide that we're putting out there to help you crush content like we and Gabrielle are doing. And, there's one last thing. I sometimes have a hard time. I forgot. Oh, no. Remember, only you can make your dream firm a reality, but we, including Gabrielle, are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, everyone, and see you on Gabrielle's channel as well. Talk to you soon.